Most founders think imposter syndrome goes away once you hit a certain revenue number. But that's exactly why they're still making fear-based decisions at $2, $3, $5 million and wondering why growth feels harder than it really should. Here's what's actually happening. The founders who look the most confident on the outside are often the ones running the most vicious self-doubt loops on the inside. And those loops are silently driving their worst strategic choices. If you're between $1 and $5 million, this is hitting you harder than you realize because you've got enough success that nobody believes you're struggling. But you're facing challenges every single week that you've literally never solved before. And there's no playbook for your exact situation. If you keep letting imposter syndrome run in the background unchecked, you undercharge. You'll avoid the bold moves that exhaust yourself, trying to prove over and over your worth every single project, even when the clients already trust you. At Camper Bull, I help founders and business owners build strategy and systems that let them scale with confidence, not just revenue. I'm telling you this from experience, not just watching it in clients, but living it. And this one's personal. Here's something I don't talk about much. A big part of what I actually do, a bigger part than most people would even guess, is to hold space for founders who are quietly falling apart behind their success. They reach out to me and the first thing they say is, and almost every single time, is some version of, I don't know what I'm doing. These aren't first-time entrepreneurs guessing their way through a business plan. These are people running real companies, managing real teams, generating big revenue. And behind closed doors, they feel like frauds. Every win feels like luck. Every setback confirms their worst fear, that they're one mistake away from being found out. And here's the part that gets me. Sometimes my job isn't strategy. It's not frameworks or systems or marketing plans or project plans. Sometimes my entire job is sitting across from someone and believing in their dream more than they believe in themselves. And that's it. That's the work. Because they've been carrying this weight so long in so much silence that they've lost the ability to see their own competence clearly. I had one founder, sharp operator, 7-figure business, clients loved her, tell me she was almost shut down her company because she bombed one sales call. One. She closed hundreds of deals, but built the team of 12, had a 90% client retention rate. But that one bad call triggered spiraling so severe, she was drafting a shutdown email at 2 a.m. I asked her to pull up the inbox and show me the last 10 client emails she received. 9 out of 10 were glowing. She started crying, not because she was sad, because she realized she had never actually looked at the evidence. She'd been running her self-assessment on feelings, not data. That was a turning point, not just for her, but for how I think about this problem. Imposter syndrome doesn't respond to motivation. It doesn't respond to just believe in yourself kind of comments. It responds to evidence. Most founders have mountains of evidence they've never organized. There are 3 actions that fix that almost immediately. If you build one system this quarter that isn't about revenue, you may want to think about building this one. Action number 1, create what I call an evidence file. This is not a gratitude journal. This is not affirmations. This is a running document, a Google Doc, a Notion page, a text file, whatever you actually use. I don't care. Or you log hard proof of your competence. Every single piece of it. Here's what goes in. Category 1, wins. Not just the big ones. Every closed deal, every project delivered on time, every quarter where you hit the target, every time you solve the problem no one else could. Category 2, direct feedback. Copy and paste the exact words when a client emails you and says, this changed everything for us. That goes in the file. When a team member tells you your leadership made the difference, that goes in. Exact words, date, source, category. Category 3, crises navigated. This is one most people skip, and it's probably the most powerful. Every time something went sideways and you figured it out, a client emergency, a cash flow crunch, a team member quitting at the worst possible time, document what happened and how you handled it. Because imposter syndrome tells you you got lucky. Your crisis log says, no, you got resourceful. Here's the protocol. Add to this file at least once a week. Friday afternoon's my favorite. 5 minutes, log something. And, now this is critical, when self-doubt spiral starts, when you're sitting at your desk 11 p.m. wondering if you're cut out for this, you don't call a friend for a pep talk. Open the file. You read the evidence. Let the date argue with doubt. I've had founders build this file and within 60 days tell me it fundamentally changed how they show up on sales calls, negotiations, and team meetings. Not because they became different people, because they stopped forgetting who they really were. This isn't therapy. This is an operating system for your confidence, and it runs on data, not feelings. Action number 2 is mental framework. And this takes about 10 seconds to use, but it will stop a self-doubt spiral cold in its tracks. I call it 5-year-old test. Here's how it works. The next time you catch yourself thinking, I'm a fraud, or I have no idea what I'm doing, or everything else has this figured out except me, stop. Ask yourself this. Would you look at a 5-year-old in the eye and tell them that you're a fraud for not knowing something they haven't learned yet? Because that's what you're doing to yourself. Every founder at every stage is encountering problems they've never solved before. That's not incompetence. That's the definition of growth. You're not supposed to have all the answers at this stage. You're supposed to be figuring them out. And the fact that you're in an arena figuring them out, instead of sitting on the sidelines pretending you know everything, that's proof that you belong right here. Here's where this works psychologically. Imposter syndrome survives on distortion. It takes a completely normal experience, not knowing something new, and reframes it as evidence of fraud. A 5-year-old test breaks the distortion by forcing perspective. You'll never tell a child they're being incompetent for being in unfamiliar territory. You encourage them. You say, you're learning, and that's exactly what you should be doing. Extend that same grace to yourself. The voice in my head said, you're going to embarrass yourself. You don't know what this material is, and you don't know it well enough. I stopped. 5-year-old test. Would I tell a 5-year-old that they're going to fail at something they prepared for and are working hard on? Absolutely not. I tell them to go and do their best and learn from it. So guess what? That's what I did. It went great. But there's the real power move. Combine this with the evidence file. When your doubt hits, you run a 5-year-old test to break the emotional spiral, and then you open the evidence file to replace the doubt with data. Emotional interrupt plus evidence. That's a 1-2 punch. If you've ever been beating yourself up for not having all the answers, you're pushing yourself for being exactly where you're supposed to be. Action number 3. Stop walking into high-stakes moments cold and start engineering your state before you perform. Here's what I mean. Most founders experience imposter syndrome the hardest in specific moments. Right before big sales calls, right before a team all hands, right before a pitch, right before they make the decision with real money attached to it. The doubt doesn't hit randomly, it hits on cue, right when the stakes go up. So if the trigger is predictable, the response should be designed. And here's the system. I call it the confidence pregame, and it takes just 5 minutes. You do it before any high-stakes interaction. Step 1, open your evidence file and read the last 5 entries, just 5. Remind your brain who you actually are based on what you've actually done, not who the doubt says you are. Step 2, Name the specific doubt out loud. Say it. I'm afraid this client will realize I don't know anything about their industry. I'm worried my team will think my strategy is wrong. Get it out of the shadows. Unnamed fears have 10 times more power than the named ones. And step 3, run the 5-year-old test on what specific doubt. Would you tell a 5-year-old you're a fraud for not knowing everything about a client's industry? No. Would you tell them their strategy idea is worthless because it might be wrong? No. You tell them to go try 5 minutes, evidence, name the fear, reframe. That's the pregame. I started doing this about a year ago before every major client call and every speaking engagement. The difference was immediate, not because of the doubt disappeared. It didn't. It was because I stopped being ambushed by it. I walked in and prepared for it. And when I showed up, I already had the counter-argument loaded. Here's one specific result. I had a proposal meeting for a contract worth big money. Biggest single deal I'd ever pitched. Old me would have over-explaining and probably disconnecting and discounting before they even asked. Instead, I did my 5-minute pregame in the parking lot, read my evidence, named the fear. I'm afraid to think I'm not big enough for this. Reframed it, walked in, called, pitched the full rate, answered questions without over-justifying, closed it, full price. Founders who perform under pressure aren't the ones without doubt. They're the ones that have built systems to process it before it reaches the microphone. Remember, 1, build your evidence file, wins, feedback, and cases navigated. Update it weekly. Read when the doubt hits. 2, 5-year-old test. Stop punishing yourself for not knowing things you haven't learned yet. 3, run a 5-minute confidence pregame before every high-stakes moment. Evidence, name the fear, reframe it. Do that, and you'll stop making decisions from self-doubt and start making them from proof. Quick check. What's the biggest trigger for your imposter syndrome? Sales calls, team leadership, public visibility. Drop sales, team, or visibility in the comments. I want to know where the doubt hits hardest for you. And once you've got your confidence system in place, watch the video on the isolation paradox next, because imposter syndrome gets 10 times worse when you're carrying it all alone. And that video shows you exactly how to build the support system that keeps the doubt from compounding. Click the video on the screen, and I'll see you there. Thanks for tuning into today's episode on the Strategy Session, where we take your business from stuck to unstoppable. Here's another video I think you'd enjoy. If you found these insights valuable, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications on our latest videos. Remember, you're not just marketing, you're making history with Venture Gained.